Why hello and welcome back to Finished Nightmare. I know it's been a couple weeks since I've actually recorded this, but I figured since Tally's being a pain in the butt, I'm gonna try for a Cream Amy duo and break my normal system. We'll see how that works out. Anyhow, immediately I'm gonna start with Amy since she takes longer of the two. Overall, well, her path is fairly straightforward. There's a lot of parts you have to have patience with. So, if I'm not careful, I would die. And I do actually die quite a few times. I'll actually show you one of the earlier ones and skip the majority of the rest of them, or this would be, like 10 minutes long. Now, I do kind of just gun it, because I've already been targeted by one of the eyeball things. So I have to get moving. And this is actually a checkpoint. Basically, so long as you make it there, you can at least survive whatever you've been hit with up till then. But as you'll see, because I got hit earlier, I will just die. That eyeball thing, after like 3 seconds of receiving a red orb that's touched you, it turns into a copy of you and then drops itself on red spikes, killing you as if you had touched them yourself. And yes, I did immediately just skip the death right after, since I immediately screwed up the jump in order to climb the wall. That's why I lost 2 lives instead of 1. But I knew I was going to die. In the first instance, not in the, oh, I missed the platform a little bit. And here's checkpoint 2. You get booted off. Luckily, knowing this, I am able to quickly react. Inside of that, I'm gonna spin dash off the arrows because you have just enough space to turn around and mash the spin dash input. And then it's time to scale yet another wall. I will be doing a lot of that. I actually managed to get really lucky here. If any of those eyeballs had seen me, I wouldn't have had time to kill them. And then I just barely scraped by that wall there. Luckily, knowing again of the incoming bounce, I know exactly where I need to land because you do not have enough time to make a recovery to the wall. Because for some reason that type of attack actually prevents you from using the crossbow. And at this point in my playtime, my body hadn't quite gotten back used to holding the Z, X, and V key. Because in Whisper of Soul, it's usually Z, X, and C. It may be a 1 key difference, but that 1 key makes all the difference. I also have learned some interesting things about how Amy works on the gameplay spectrum. I kinda just brute force it at this point. I know I'm dead if I don't move. And despite what it looks like, while I have hit a checkpoint, I have not saved my life. What's going to happen is right after this next section plays out, I will die. In like 5-ish seconds, because that eyeball thing will still carry out its attack, despite it being off screen now. Which is what caused me the greatest confusion the first time I was clearing Amy's route. Because those eyeball things will target you, shoot a boomerang projectile, and if it hits you on either of those directions or turns, you've got 10 seconds to hit it 3 times. Either with crossbow bolts or jumping on it. If you fail to do either of those, you will die. I can say I'm a little bit of a gamer. A lucky one at that. We're 3 minutes into the video and I've already completed a section where speed is usually punished. Using a whole lot of speed. Unfortunately, I do have to scale this entire wall, which is just behind the cutscene barrier, so if I could have made a jump there, I probably would have been able to get there slightly faster. Luckily, this is no speedrun. But I have already shown all of this text in other videos, which will probably be in the playlist titled Other Sonic EXE Stuff. I don't exactly know where, I just know it's sorted oldest to newest, so it's going to be somewhere in the middle of the pack. But anyhow, time to watch Amelia die. Get him, bodies! Yeah, that still feels weird to say. I just learned this guy's name like 3 months ago and I still feel like it's a strange name to pick. Because it still only has one body, even if it's using pieces from 2 bodies. Anyhow, I guess I'll overlook that as we get into the next section. In this section, it's basically another hide and seek. Your goal is to not get found and find something yourself. What you're trying to find is 5 ring pieces, which that will be explained as to why I need to find ring pieces in like 5 seconds. And the other thing that I need to hide from will also be shown here in a second. That thing. I don't really want to call it a Sally because, while it has the body of Sally, it's very clearly not Sally. Like, it's obviously some other being at this point. I don't know what provision the EXE who just killed Amelia is. But I do know this. I do not want to get spotted, as it is a pain in my butt in order to get out of Sally's sight. Anyhow, back on track for the ring shards. I get a really lucky early shard spawn here. It's just in the immediate opening here. Let me do a bit of jumping around so you guys don't have to watch the 50 minutes it took me to finish this by waiting for Sally. I do have to wait on this one because, well, Sally's right there. I did collect that shard right after. I apparently got the wrong flip there. Either way, I could fix that, but I'm gonna leave it as is. Anyhow, here's the last shard. The reason I'm not showing the immediate collection of it is so I can show what I did incorrectly. I first lose a life, because to death. Then, I continue to fall all the way back down, which gets me seen by Sally. Now, luckily, I do not lose any of my shards that I have collected at this point. So I can use Spring. I choose to go the wrong way. But I, again, get so lucky here. I thought for sure Sally was going to shoot at me, but no, she just continues on her path. Like, I don't know about you, but that plant looks mighty suspicious. I'll take it. But after that, it takes me a minute to get back on top, because I'm being slightly more cautious, because with only 7 rings, and not very likely chance that I'm gonna avoid losing a shard this next time I meet with Sally. Because that is actually the only encounter I actually have with Sally during the entire 50 minutes. And 1 life I lost during this. Well, I guess I technically lost 2. I lost 1 to that death sign, and 1 during a 2 shard run where I could not figure out for the life of me where any of the shards was, and fell into a bottomless pit. But anyhow, it's time for me to run back. Because once you get 5, your goal is simply to get back. And there's where I learned some new tech. If you actually press V, either right before or right after initiating a spin dash, your speed remains throughout a much longer period than if you just spin dashed. And there's Amy. Which is a good sign, because that means I only have to worry about Cream next, because I am not touching Sally with a 70-meter pole. It may be easy once you understand where you're going and basic timings, such as when the shortest interval and longest interval between first off Sally creature's movements, and when the Cream Mimic comes through. Because, as far as I can tell, you can have 2, even 3 Cream Mimics in a row. And the period for the Sally creature movement is also capable of happening very quickly. But I don't know the exact limit of it on the latter end, or whether or not it has an upper limit to go up to. Like, obviously, it's a random range between some number and another number, the smaller number I assume being somewhere between like 100 frames, maybe. At least like 3 seconds. Because that's how long it takes for the bell to finish ringing, I think. I don't remember off the top of my head, and I'm just trying to figure all this out while I'm talking to you guys. Anyhow, back on the topic of Cream. The reason I hit that snowball earlier is because it's the only way to actually save Cream. If you fail to hit that snowball, you will inevitably die. There is no way around it, and there is no good ending. Now, luckily, the snowball was in a path where, when I first played through this route and figured out what the... I forget her name. The other Sally thing. The gray Sally, who likes singing, I know that much. Either way, that one has some scrambled word jumble that I have already solved in my first playthrough of the route that ended up not having the complete ending for Cream, because for some reason OBS didn't unpause when I did my shortcut for unpausing. Of course, at some point I'll go in and correct that, but that's not a now thing. Right now we're going through Cream and Amy. Also, during this boss fight, I am not 100% certain on what this spiked balls actually do, movement-wise. Like, I know there's a pattern or something that I could follow, but I find it easier just to face towards the wall and hope for the best, because if you face away, there's a good chance you're going to get hit multiple times in a row. Well, honestly, you've got a good chance of getting hit multiple times in a row no matter what you do. But really, your best bet is to just bounce between walls as soon as you see that warning sign go away. Obviously, when you hit or miss Exterior, as I'm gonna refer to him because I don't actually know how to properly pronounce it. Whenever you hit or miss him, he'll spawn ice spikes on the walls, which you do not want to touch for obvious reasons. But yeah, I'm currently on 0 ring. Now luckily, that does not end up being a bad thing, because I end up getting the last hit before he goes on to commit another attack. And that shall save Cream. I now have both Amy and, well, I don't technically have Cream alive yet. Here comes phase 2 of saving Cream. As I was saying, in phase 2 of Cream's survival, you will instead encounter a survival situation where your only goal is to get to the end of the level. Except it's much more simple than Amy's. You only have 2 bars to worry about, Frostbite and Sanity. If Frostbite fills up, you'll die an icy death, which I have shown in, again, the Cream's solo video. And Sanity has an entirely separate thing that I recommend you go back to watch that video specifically for, because I will not describe it in any sort of way, specifically so you have a reason to go and click on it. Also, if you do want to go back and read any of the text I am skipping through here, again, they are in the videos specifically for those endings, or in the first video for this where I get the worst ending, and go through all of these for the first time. Also, no, I have not survived phase 2 of Cream yet. That was not the level I was talking about, but it's a good way of showing the system you'll have to follow in order to survive the upcoming section. It teaches you that snowbanks will increase your frostbite, but they will also lower your sanity by 1 point. Obviously, if you get frostbite, you have to move around in order to warm your body up, but moving faster also seemingly decreases sanity at a slightly faster rate. Either that, or it makes you run through triggers to decrease your sanity faster, causing it to look like you're losing sanity from moving faster. But either way. As frostbite increases, Cream will get ever slower, and the only way to warm up Cream is to really just press the X key, which is how you get your big burst of speed. it'll give you immediate warmth at the cost of you potentially running into something you don't want to run into, aka this monster here. Which moves slowly, but if it ever gets off screen, it'll teleport to a position near you, or as near as it can without interrupting your direct path. For example, if you miss that jump, you have to go back down in order to force it to spawn back at the bottom of the cavern, or else you literally cannot survive that section. And here's the next point where he teleports that I have noticed. Now, if you're wondering how I got out of the glide there, it's because whenever your sanity lowers, you have a chance of a random effect happening. This can be anywhere from randomly slowing down, not getting as much jump as seen there, reversing directions, or if you're gliding, you can always jump out of the glide from the sanity, which luckily actually helped me in the situation I was in. But now I can say I've safely survived Cream's section. Now at this point I have started slowing down on the text boxes because I want to be sure I can read any differences in the text boxes, because whenever this next upcoming section comes up, it becomes slightly important to me to make sure that if there is a difference, that I get it, rather than miss it and have to re-record the entire event. Now, I do kind of feel like I go too slow here, but no harm, no foul in allowing for people to read. At the very least, I can get prepared for the next upcoming section. Now, I will just straight up kill Sally, because even if I was or wasn't confident in completing the upcoming challenges with the amount of lives I've got, I still just don't want to deal with Sally's section. Yeah, it's far too much timing for my liking. Not to mention there is like no checkpoints. Now, here is where I get confused. Here, I think I'm just choosing who I want to pick to go on the survival path for first. And in case it came as the second thing I thought of, which is they may not have made a duo system, so they may have you choose between solos right at the end rather than have any special duo ending. Which, unfortunately, is correct. This is just the normal Cream solo. Now, luckily, that does mean I get the chance to show you guys the actual fight between X-Tier and the super fight that occurs after beating it the first time. And I actually beat him fairly quickly after only playing this route like twice, I think. Twice before this video, I mean. But yeah, if you... At least I know the only ending I truly have to go for now is the True and Sally solo. Now, honestly, I don't know how I feel about doing all that. Until I can get a better grasp on A, the map of Sally's section, and B, the timing between the Sally creature's movements and the Cream Mimic's movements, which I have not bothered to look up the name for, by the way. I'm just going with that because that sounds right, and based on how the creatures look, it is completely accurate. Anyhow, I guess it's about time I describe the fight that's about to go down. That I screwed up so badly the first time I got here. And what I mean by screwed up, I mean that I managed to soft lock myself and had to end a video in a soft lock because I had no more time to put into attempts at Cream Solo. That is also in the Sonic EXE, the other Sonic EXE stuff playlist. But anyhow, in order to beat X-Tier the first time, you have to hit him with 9 spikes. Or 6 spikes, actually. He will switch positions from the middle, bottom, and top, and after the first 3, as you can see, he spawns a wall behind you that will instantly gobble up your rings and basically insta-kill you if you touch it. Now, you can survive touching the wall if you get hit by something else and then get bounced into the wall thanks to Invincibility Frame. Not so lucky is that I just miss the spike I wanted to use. So despite being in a good position at first, I now have 0 rings and on my last life, and I do not have very good prospect. Now I do just manage to grab a ring, which is good for me because it means I have a better chance. And here you have to jump over or else you lose a ring. I don't know if it just insta-kills you. And do whatever you do not jump the entire rest of the time. You can jump, you can kick. If you jump, you will soft lock yourself. You will have to go all the way back through the route. There is no killing yourself. There is no time death. If you screw up that last jump, you will just run on an infinitely stretching plane. Now, on to the super fight, which luckily this time, again, I did not have as much trouble with as I did when I first went through the Cream Solo that I screwed up the recording on. If you're wondering what I did, it is simply, I held X and Z. Now, I understand that sounds like it's a lack of explanation, but considering X is a spin dash that auto-targets whenever you're above or below X tier and he's in a hittable state, and Z just allows you to magnetize more rings for triple the value of each individual ring. I feel like after giving that tidbit, it makes a lot more sense as to why I only have to say I held X and I held Z. I do want to say I did a second attempt here. Okay, I think I got it. And as you can see, it is literally just dash around like a maniac. Obviously being careful in order to not run directly into X tier or else you will lose a whole bunch of rings. Now if you're wondering why I just spent a little while holding Z there and not losing a whole bunch of rings from being slower, it's because the attack he actually used gives you a lot of opportunity to avoid it. As you can see, I can even get 2 more hits by the time he is finished launching his chasing orb and the other thing. Also, you do not want to be grabbed by him. You have to be dashing this entire time. Otherwise, you will lose a lot of rings, which at this point in the game is way too many. the ring amount you lose versus the amount you can have gain during this point of the battle, it's not a lot. If I can just land one more strike, I win, and it's that easy. Well, not actually easy, it just so happens that it's a lot easier to dodge attacks once you know what you're dodging. Now, at this point I have accepted that I will not be able to do a Queen or an Amy duo, but the text we're at, it looks like Amy is speaking, tricks me as well because, well, I saved Amy. I expected to be able to do something as a duo. And during that entire Cream fight, I was like, well, I have to do both of their solo fights in order to do a duo, or... Nope, it's just the Cream solo. Don't know what happened to Amy. Could be that X tier just decided to kill her. Well, nobody was looking. But I'll tell you what, it sure is frustrating. This is a really disappointing way to leave off a video at, but there is not really much of a reason for me to go for a Sally route. Because A, I have no more patience for that route, and B, there's only so much time I have in a night, and every time I spend one life on Sally's section, it takes me 40 minutes, because I reach a new point and have to slow down in order to prevent myself from losing the 1 to 2 rings I have. Because if you'll remember, if you have 1 ring, you don't have an extra life to spare. That is your only life, and if you get hit while you have only 1 ring, you just straight up die. And based on my knowledge of the Sally route, it's almost necessary to choose taking one of the springs with you, because you skip a lot of the actual route just by doing that. While I can't speak to the actual difficulty of what remains, I can say for certain that the first section no longer seems as daunting as it once was, but it's still far too RNG dependent for me. But anyhow, while the credits are rolling, this will be nearing the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, I guess go ahead and like the video, and if you're enjoying most of the content or find that you enjoyed any of the videos under any of the playlists I have, or any specific type of content that you enjoy from me in any shape or form, whether discussion or lack thereof, think about subscribing. But what I do think is the most important is that everyone has a good day.